I doubt it. Red player blocking? Not in my elo, dude. No way. This does seem like the riskiest hand I'm going to keep, but we'll try it. It'll be the best. Save them all. I would like to cast Shelter by Ghost. I'd like to attach it here. Oh, dude, this game's so sick. Whether it's casting our opponent's Shelter by Ghost or just attacking them for overwhelming pressure, Skeletons has always been kind of a fun deck for me to play overall. But hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. We are here to play some Skeletons and I'm very excited about it. This is one of the archetypes I liked right before rotation. I was playing Demir, but I saw a couple skeleton lists kind of running around on Untapped with a decent win rate. Nothing too crazy as aggro decks do oftentimes get hated out. For example, we have to fight a main boarded Leyline of the Void in today's video, which is definitely interesting. I don't know what got to them, but they're playing Leyline of the Void and they're ready to fight, so that was kind of cool. And we also get to cast our opponent's stuff with Tinybones here, which is very sick. So the main synergy of the deck is to play a lot of skeletons, whether they be good, bad. There's kind of not a ton of options. We have 18 creatures, but that is misleading as we do get to make 8 more off of Corpse of the Lost in case of the stash skeleton. And Corpse of the Lost is pick upable, so there is actually a little bit more creatures in the deck than what it will seem. Outside of that, there are 10 removal spells, and then the rest are lands. So realistically, everything's a creature outside of 34 cards, I believe, which is pretty much most decks. So we have 26 creatures, but here they all are. Skeleton Warrior comes back if a non-skeleton creature dies, which most likely will not happen too often outside of Death Baron and Gisa, but realistically, not too much of that's going to happen. Forsaken Miner, however, can. Sorry, I had to cough really bad. So what I was saying is, oh, there's a cut. You would have never noticed until I brought it up just now. Okay, Forsaken Miner is very cool because this can't block. However, if we commit a crime, a kind of mechanic that came with Thunder Junction, targeting opponents anything they control and our cards in their graveyard is a crime. So if we cut down a creature, that counts. Go for the throat, nowhere to run. Hit them with the Tinybone, target a card in their graveyard. A lot of things commit crimes in this deck just kind of for free value. We can spend 1 black mana and bring this back from the graveyard, which we'll see in a red deck. Our opponent burst lightning something, we killed their creature and then paid 1 and brought this back immediately, which is super cool. And then Tinybones, the Pickpocket, which is a little bit risky to play as it is a 4 of in a legendary creature, but it does have Death Touch. So if we do have multiple copies, we'll just use it as a main blocker. But this card is also a threat at any point to hit our opponent and cast their spells. So with that said, the other good cards in the deck, Case is pretty nice, makes a 2/1 skeleton. We can tutor if that skeleton dies, a lot of removal. But Corpse of the Lost is basically what the deck revolves around overall. Skeletons you control get a 1/0 and have haste, and whenever it enters, it also makes a 2/2. With Corpse of the Lost, it's a 3/2 with haste. So it is a little bit misleading on the creature it makes. But at the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, which means a permanent entered our graveyard this turn, you may pay 1 life. If you do, return this back to our hand so we can repeatedly make creatures over and over again to apply pressures to some of those kind of control decks like mono white and blue white control. But other than that, we have Death Baron, which is just a lord for our skeletons and zombies, where they all get a 1/1 and have Death Touch, so that makes it even more threatening when they all attack, so they'll never be able to get chump blocked, for example. And then 2 Gisas for the high end game, where we kind of have to slow roll it out, play a lot of removal, establish this, and every time we affect our opponent, we just make a lot more creatures. This is pretty good against like some of the flicker decks and things like that are trying to outvalue us. But we just slam this and we call it a good day. And with 1 land here, the Sandstorm Verge, this card actually comes up quite often in today's video, so I'm going to highlight it here. It does have 3 mana. Target creature can't block this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. This is very good against like the mono black demon decks where they're kind of like, okay, can you get through my 6/6? And it's like, I don't really have to do that. I'll just like make it where it can't block and attack past it, and then we get a lot of value that way. So outside of that, we're going to go ahead and dive into games. Fighting off the sneezes, dude. They're coming after me. Do we go... I mean, I feel like we play the case, right? Let's attack here. They might block, but I doubt it. We are kind of the pressure deck as well, right? So now next turn, we can go for the throat, play the Forsaken Miner if we draw another land. Thankfully, we'll have stuff to play, right? We can kind of tap out. Obviously, Forsaken Miner number 2 is pretty good. This does have Menace, so it is kind of a problem. No white mana, so protection is kind of out of the question. They attack. Maybe they're looking to pump this. Maybe get some action off of it. Maybe they'll just activate its ability, which means, like... I feel like that just tells me their hand's kind of slow, right? Do I not just play... Swamp here, attack for 4 and hold up double removal? I feel like that's the better answer, right? Obviously this is good, but if I do draw the corpse or like the lord or whatever, I can always play it following this turn. Maybe a Screaming Nemesis comes down. No damage has been done, so this can't pump itself. I have to kind of decide if sure, so we can commit a crime and bring that back. We'll see if they go for the pump here, though. Yep. No blocks, of course. No removal there. Do a go for the throat. Not really a whole lot of options, and then we'll pay to bring our little skeleton back. So now their Burst Lightning did effectively nothing. Pretty nice. And then there's a Manifold Mouse, which we can also remove out of the way. Which I feel like we should just do that right away anyway. See if they block, though. Yeah, I doubt it. Red player blocking? Not my elo, dude. No way. Get that down out of the way. Now we have 8 damage on board. And another, like, again, I know I've said it a couple times. Corpse of the Lost is just the money card in any of these situations. Here's 8. Let's say some amount of removal's got to come, right? Witchstalker Frenzy number 1. Witchstalker Frenzy number 2. Oh, it's the Lightning Strike. Yeah, so they're bolting everything down. Makes sense, but that's a lot of damage to things off the board. I might as well just hold my land. It doesn't really make much of a difference if I have it in hand or not. Our opponent concedes. Okay, very cool, very cool. Now, this is always the weird part, because it's like, do we play Death Baron first, or do we play Corpse of the Lost first? And it kind of just depends what we're up against. If it's heavily heavy removal based, then you can argue we play Corpse, because we can always pick that back up and reset it back down, get value over and over again. But obviously, if they're not a creature deck, we'd like a 2-drop, maybe like a case. Nah, I'm gonna be too picky, you know. Blue white, all right. Blue white, all right. Yeah, especially here, like, if they play another tap land, Corpse of the Lost is definitely the better card. Ooh, Esper, huh? Interesting. Corpse of the Lost backup, very good. Let's play the Death Baron. Oh, all right. What are you removing here? It's like one of those situations where it's got to be the Death Baron. This is going to be Esper Flicker, but we don't really care too much because Corpse of the Lost puts so much pressure in play. This is Esper Self Bounce, I guess, is the other way to say that. But we'll see. So counterspells typically aren't like that big of a deal against this matchup. It's just a lot of nowhere to runs, like this town ain't big enough kind of nonsense. Which they definitely get value here if they bounce my 3-2 and then they're nowhere to run, because then the token's gone. We still get pressure in on this. I mean, I'm attacking. There's 0 chance we're holding back at all in this matchup. We definitely don't want the game to stall out at any point. This town ain't big enough. We hit for 3. They're down to 12. They're going to eventually have to put some amount of permanence in play. Use the black mana. They do take a damage currently, but they also could play another black source, which all that little bit of mana does dip in and allows us to open up opportunities. Now we get to go for the throw a target, which is actually super huge for us. Obviously nowhere to run is kind of what they're wanting to keep a hold of. Forsaken Miner can always come back here. All of our creatures thus far are skeletons, so we don't have to worry that much. What do we want to do? A second Corpse of the Lost, probably. Grow our Cult Conscripts pretty large. And then if a Conscript dies here, we get to double pick these back up. So even like an additional land's not that bad. Getting rid of the Forsaken Miner to a discard effect's okay. Here. Move. Your choice. Now obviously the 4-2 is what they'll target with this nowhere to run. There's like I can't imagine there's a protection spell that they have in their deck. Most of them don't run it, and let's be honest, they probably didn't put like a ton of different kind of ideas into the deck. Now this is where our Verge is going to be a really nice card because we can play this, make sure a creature can't block, and this is actually lethal here. Bouncing Corpse of Lost would probably not be my first task of the new year. These cards are very good because they obviously get repeated entry value. Now, you are correct. It is only on my turn. That does do that for you. Now they can bounce this creature, but we can always pick, like, replay it. And that's the best part about this card being so cheap. Big and minor. We attack. Down to 2. Nice. Yeah. If they remove it on our turn, it's a little tough. Not a whole lot in there. Looks like they're reading what this does exactly. I don't blame them. This is a skeleton, so it's not like it does much else. You are any skeleton draw if this is their only answer. Or definitely any skeleton draw if that's their only answer. We play Tinybones. Activate here. Say that can't block. Comes back. We auto pay. And now we hit for lethal against the Esper bounce deck, which is definitely good. Obviously, there was no discard effect that they were able to loop, but realistically, being able to be a nowhere to run loop that they're able to kind of do on their turn, so the Corpse of the Lost never trigger, right? And the fact that the tokens don't technically trigger this as well, so it's a very cool situation where we get out of this game pretty easily overall. Like, obviously not easily, but like kind of easily. I don't know how to explain it. Okay, pretty cool hand. Not the most aggressive hand of all time, but Tinybones is a pretty annoying card overall for your opponent to have to deal with. Especially if they have creatures that are good, then we always just poke at them with the go for the throats and stuff. But there's a duress that hits us. It takes our go for the throat. Tinybones going to get maybe like a little value. Maybe, I say. Attack. Can't cast a duress, which would be super sick. But obviously not really a viable option there. But second land comes down. Removal comes in for the Tinybones. I'm not entirely sure that that's what I would have done. But I'm not my opponent. I feel like the Death Baron's definitely the better card of the two. Definitely growing this. Basically replacing the Tinybones damage. But, I mean, I guess you would still take 3 regardless. But Death Baron definitely seems like the correct card. Now my creatures also have Death Touch. Unholy Annex into this board. Okay. We do need to find removal. We do need to find it fast. We're in for another 5. Now, if they do play a demon and they think they have blockers, that won't necessarily work. We have 8 damage here, but if they do play a demon, then like they'll gain 2 more life. We'll lose a little bit, but we'll see what happens here. Archfiend of the Dross. Okay. 11. Forsaken Miner, Numere 3. Let's go ahead and play it here. And let's go ahead and say that this creature cannot block me. Let's attack it. Set him down to 3. Now it ticks down. This is 12 damage plus a demon is an additional 4, so that's 16 that they can do to me. So if they play an Archfiend and remove a creature, I actually die from 18 here, which is kind of crazy. To think about a little bit, but you know, what's going to work, dude? Teamwork? Probably not. But these things having Death Touch is also super sick, because that means if Archfiend does ever get to block, we obviously probably get it regardless. Death Baron putting in probably the most work. Obviously Tinybones pretty annoying because of the Death Touch that it just naturally comes with. But like I said before, Death Baron pumping all these across the board is also pretty devastating. But yeah. What is the dealio? Sandstorm Verge has also come up clutch. Fieldred, okay. They're going to gain 5 here. 7. You can block one of these. I don't know if I feel like that choice is very hard, but sure. Make that unable to block. Everything seems to have resolved, and they have to block one of these 3/3s, right? Or no, it's still lethal, right? 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so they didn't have removal. I thought they just had removal, so they were sticking around. I was like, oh, I mean, okay. So I'm gonna attack. They're probably gonna kill this, and then these will end up hitting for like, so they could block, hit this. This will then die to that. I'll only have done 4, and then they'll actually kill me on backswing, so we have to attack out regardless. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, our opponent's first. This does seem like the riskiest hand I'm going to keep, but we'll try it. It'll be the best. They maul. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, sure, dude. Ley Line of the Void in the main. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, sir. Definitely not my skeleton deck. Ooh. Nice. No, if they kill this, it never comes back, by the way. Oh, did you miss a land? Okay, sick. I'm very excited about that. See, I was nervous because I played a Ley Line of the Void, and that does cause a lot of problems. I'm going to play a Death Baron. Death Baron's definitely the removed creature of choice here. There's like 0 chances to Forsaken Miner, as we've learned from previous games. Well, there's the cut down, so they must have drew that. They just took 2 damage last turn. I doubt that's their goal. They find a 3rd land. They go for Unstoppable Slasher, and they're Unstoppable Slashing. Sure. Yes. Cut down this. Sorry, Mr. Opponent. I would like that out of my way. Now we'll go for this. And then we'll probably end up just removing it too. Oh, so now they're hitting all the lands. Look at them go. Alright, so what to do? I guess I just turn on the pressure, right? I gotta just like let that kind of stick around for one more turn. I just play a Corpse of the Lost. I got multiple cut downs. I don't really care that much. Hit for 6, set them down to 8. Just hold this nowhere to run to kind of target another one of these, maybe cut down it or something. I don't know. Go for the throat. Unfair. Okay. Sweet. Land. Sick. Game does love me sometimes. I say sometimes, but you know. Here's 4. I only need you to not have one more removal spell. Then I have cut downs. Wow, they were really about to just win the game. That's crazy. Down. And then we get to do something really, really cool here. Nowhere to run. Target here. Cut down target there. And then hit you for 4. Okay. Bro, like, mauling the 6 to play a Ley Line in the Void and then miss 3rd land drop into like the Slasher, and as soon as the next turn the Slasher was able to attack, they ripped a Bloodletter off the top. Kind of crazy hand. That's kind of crazy draws right there. Now I know they missed the land. Very obvious of that. We're very aware of that. What a sick game to turn away the win for. That's really funny. I guess, bro. What? Oh, wow. This is like one of the first, like, mass creature hands we've had. Oh, and a mulligan. Boros? Dude, who keeps letting my heroes in? Alright, we'll play a Death Toucher. Now, Ethereal Armor does beat Death Toucher, so we do have to remember that. But, Death Toucher do beat Toughness, though. We Ethereal Armoring the Higher Claw. We Sheltering by Ghost here. Spare? Okay. Alright. That's pretty cool. I accept that, man. The worst part is I got plenty more of these to go. I got so many more of these to go. What's up, man? Now, here's the cool part. I'll play another one. Oh, what a stupid deck I'm playing, dude. Oh, and I can give him haste. That's pretty sick. Obviously on a later turn, but here's my dudes. My doodads. No ethereal armor, please, sir. I can't beat that card. I can try my best. That's a card I cannot beat. Here. So my Tinybones dies and I get a Tinybones back. That's pretty cool. I'm a pretty big fan of that. Now, you ready to see somebody like maybe incredibly sad? If they'll allow me to do it. They only have 2 mana. Let's attack like this. Shelter by Ghost. I'd like to cast this. I would like to put it on this guy that can block. I would like to target that challenger. Now, did we think they had to rescue? Yes. I feel like that's the only reason there's 1 mana held up there. But that's a pretty funny play. Now, here's the thing, right? If they put the ethereal armor on there and my conscript gets to, like, block. Like, I'm definitely blocking here. There's no way. My Tinybones hits them again, and I just cast a Shelter by Ghost again. Game's sick. Attack. I would like to cast Shelter by Ghost. I'd like to attach it here. Oh, dude, this game's so sick. Give me that. That's just Tinybones is a messed up Magic the Gathering card. I love Death Touch. I love casting my opponent's Shelter by Ghost. Maybe we should be an Orzhov deck. Well, I only played 2 to try to prevent this from happening, but supposedly, you know, game had other options in mind. I'm gonna keep this. I'll just do that, I think. Corpse is just too good to let it go. Like, I'll take drawing a ton of cards that aren't necessarily another land. Oh, okay. I'm only crying in the club right now. You don't have to worry about me. We draw a Corpse of the Lost now. The amount of gas that, yeah, I'll decline. You can keep that in your graveyard. It doesn't exile if I even target it, which would be super sick if it did. But combat. Attack. Miss land here. Go for a third. Maybe not the best, like, hit of all time, right? Not really what we were after. And here's the thing that Tinybones is so annoying, right? They want to remove Tinybones, which is like, okay. Alright, well. Tell me you have more copies without telling me you have more copies. The thing is, we do have more damage this way. So it's a little weird to see them kind of go that route, but there's a Valgavoth next turn, and I can't beat it.
Something suspicious is going on. It's not my fault. Off you go.
Okay, I'm good. I said something about not hitting the 3rd land, but I didn't actually take that seriously. I was kind of joking, hoping we just hit it, but our opponent has so many copies of Zombify and put a Valgavoth in the graveyard on turn 1 by surveilling their top card. If they discarded this card, they have another copy, and they're going to bring it back next turn. There's just no reason to play that game out. All right, everyone. With that said, after kind of just getting a little bit high rolled and unfortunately didn't draw land, I'm kind of done. I can't really keep talking. I don't know if you could tell based if you've watched me before. My voice is definitely like in a different octave than it normally is, and I can't breathe out my nose, and I keep sniffling, and there's been like 2 or 3 games that I've cut because the entire time I just hear myself like snorting into my microphone, and I don't think anybody wants to hear that. So I have to call it there. Unfortunately, I'm trying to clear up, you know, trying to do my best. But like I said, this deck was super fun, not super crazy anywhere along the board. Like all uncommons. Hello. A lot of rares, a couple mythics, but the lands is where you kind of get your value from this deck if you're looking for like more of a budget deck. I will say these cards are the hardest to craft of like all time, because outside of skeletons, you're probably not playing any of these. Most likely you could play Case, I guess. Tinybones gets played in some other decks every now and then, but it's also a mythic, so like be careful with that as well. Other than that, you do kind of save yourself a ton on lands. Deck is typically always sits anywhere between like a 50% win rate to maybe 60. Like for the most part, you'll have some hot runs, you'll have some bad runs, but with the way the ladder works, like that's good enough. You can kind of climb at a 50% win rate, which doesn't seem like it'd be possible, but without de-ranking and then ranking up, doesn't really matter that much. So this deck's good. It's fun. I don't know if this is definitely the optimal list. I do think it's a little bit weird. I've had 2 different lists that I pulled, and I thought we had Tinybones joins up, which is the 1-mana enchantment that will trigger Gisa for free. But I think we traded those out for Death Barons for Death Touch. So if you do want to play the Tinybones joins up and maybe you have those instead of this, like it's probably fine. But you do start running a little bit low in creatures. We have 18 in theory, but there's actually 22 because of Case, and there's 26 because of this. So the half the deck is roughly creatures outside of the kind of 10 removal spells and lands here, filling up a 34 slots of the deck. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.